Hello there, neighbors. Well, I just got back from watching A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. The film stars Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers and is inspired by the story of investigative reporter Tom Junod, who in 1998 released an article in Esquire magazine about Mr. Rogers. The film involves a reporter based off Tom Junod, whose name is Lloyd Vogel, who, while having some difficult times with his family, comes to Pittsburgh to interview Mr. Rogers for Esquire magazine, and through the interview learns a lot more about himself and helps patch up a relationship with his estranged father. And on the whole, it is a very, very good film. It has its issues, of course, but I'll get to those later. But there are several good elements to it. You see, one of them is its extreme technical precision in trying to replicate the sets and scenes used in the original Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood program. See, a few months back, I ordered this book off the PBS Shop at Home site, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, A Visual History. I'll place a link in below if you want to get a copy for yourself. You can get it at Amazon as well, but ordering through PBS, you're also helping support other PBS programs. Yeah. In the end of this book, they have a whole chapter dedicated to how they reconstructed the sets for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. See, right here. Right there's a picture of Tom Hanks, and below, if you can make it out, that's a mock-up of the original Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood set. See, the original set, as soon as filming for the series wrapped up in around 2001, the crew had to break apart the set because WQED had to use the studio for their programming. And the crew for Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood had to look through nearly every episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in order to get an exact, closest possible version of the studio set. In fact, they even went so far as to do 3D plastic models of the little neighborhood set pieces for Mr. Rogers' Kitchen, based off the ones that Bob Dro made for the original program. And on the whole, the technical accuracy is pretty darn good. And other good things, then there's Tom Hanks playing Mr. Rogers. He's not 100% accurate, but he's trying very darn hard. And even though he's not that close, he still gives his all, and it is a beautiful performance. Probably going alongside his performances for Forrest Gump and also Walt Disney in Saving Mr. Banks. Knowing his, knowing his care in certain roles, I believe he watched several episodes of the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And there's one scene in the film where he does the voice for the Daniel Tiger puppet and Friday the 13th, or King Friday. You know, they're not close, but he still does a pretty good job with them. Then there's some other folks from the program who have little appearances. There's a woman playing Betty Aberlin. She's pretty good. Then also they have another actor playing family communications head Bill Eiler. In fact, in the book they have a small interview with Bill Eiler, if I could just remember where I had the page marked. Thankfully there's a beautiful index in this book to help find that. Excuse me. Yeah, Bill Eiler was a really hard case while working at Family Communications. And he had a lot to put up with Fred having a very strict view for the program. And the Eiler scene on screen is also pretty good characterization. And the other actors, there's Lloyd, and the characters of Lloyd Vogel, his wife and child, and then his father. It's not Mr. Rogers' story that takes center screen in this film. No. It's undoubtedly the story of Lloyd Vogel and how meeting with Mr. Rogers helped him reshape a relationship that had deteriorated after his mother passed away and his father, well, he had a difficult relation with his father, I'll say that. By the end of the film, it's a fairly satisfying ending. Now, one of the things that the film does in recreating the feeling of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, it has that miniature mock-up or layout of the neighborhood with the little trolley running past, if you remember that from the TV series. And they often use that set as sort of a segue. In addition to the neighborhood, there's also a miniature set of Pittsburgh and one of New York City. And I don't think it really works that well in this case. I mean, if you think to the layout used in the television series, it just features a trolley and then a camera pan, and that's about it. However, the sets used for places like Pittsburgh and New York, the sets used for places like Pittsburgh and New York, it looks, I hate to say this, but it looks extremely corny, like Mystery Science Theater 3000 corny. I can see what they're going for, but it just doesn't look right. And also, there are a few scenes that wrap around the movie. So, just to tell you, the movie starts with Fred, played by Tom Hanks, coming into the living room, taking off his jacket, putting on the sweater, and then telling the story about Lloyd Vogel, and also coming in at one point, Mr. McFeely has a video for picture-picture about magazines. And then, at the end of the movie, Fred talks about Lloyd Vogel's patched-up relationships, and that's the end of the film. They're fine scenes, however, the scene where Mr. McFeely brings in the video about how they make magazines, usually when they had the videos on picture-picture, Mr. McFeely and Mr. Rogers, they provide a little quiet commentary, However, here, in the original TV series, there was a good bit of a pause to allow the children to absorb what's being shown. However, here, the pauses there's barely any pauses. Mr. Feely says, okay, here's where they dump the ink. And about maybe 2 seconds later, Mr. Rogers says, gee, it looks like mustard. But there's barely any time left for breathing. That's just a minor complaint on my behalf. Anyhow. But the major theme of this movie is probably about forgiveness the most. Like I said earlier, Lloyd Vogel has an estranged relationship with his father, whom he holds responsible for the death of his mother in the hospital. And through meeting Fred Rogers, Lloyd learns forgiveness for his father's past transgressions and visits his father while he is slowly passing away. And slowly, Lloyd learns through his interactions with Fred for the interviews for his magazine that sometimes just need to learn a little forgiveness. Sometimes we just like to hold on to anger. Like holding on to a grudge and never letting go. It's common. I mean, I've myself have held grudges for a long time. And one of the themes on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he had the song, "What Do You Do With the Mad That You Feel?" Mr. Rogers himself had a technique of just banging on his piano keys at home. Boom, boom, boom. And one point in the film, Mr. Rogers invites Lloyd Vogel out to lunch, and he does a thing that he shares with Lloyd, a little exercise he often did, taking a minute each day to think about all the people who have formed your life. Well, if you guys at home want to try it out, I got my watch right here. I'll keep track of time. It's that point that Lloyd Vogel in the movie goes to visit his ailing father. I myself was moved to tears at that point. I can't even talk right now. I'm so... Oh, gosh. And I can't think of too much else that I can say about A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. It is an excellent film with amazing performance by Tom Hanks and all the other gifted people in charge. The cast, the crew, the extras, everybody. Thank you for watching. I know I might have rambled a bit, but this is mostly impromptu on my end. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment below. Check me out on Twitter for more posts. And also, don't forget to support your local PBS station in order to bring more programming like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood to a wide audience across the country. Thank you all for watching. And before I leave, I thought I'd share a little bit of music from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Excuse me. It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. It's you I like. The way you are right now, the way down deep inside you. Not the things that hide you, not your fancy watch that's just beside you, but it's you I like. Every part of you, your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like. Yes, you yourself. It's you I like.